My bad, y'all. I had to step out and all that and had to take my time of recording this part two of me being used to being a Detroit Pistons fan at this time. So back to the whole Humble, Texas, Deerbrook Mall experience about how I became a Detroit Pistons fan. For those that don't know and all that, for those that don't know what's the fans store was in the Deerbrook Mall in Humble, Texas and all that. I guess at the time in 08, 09, I was watching. I just got by. I think whatever that was playing in 08, 09, I believe my uncle was. I believe we was watching Soul Man, but since it was so inappropriate for us to watch, we didn't wind up watching it all the way. So in order at this time, Bernie Mac died and all that, and they were showing two movies that Bernie Mac was in. So for me at that time as a kid, I believe I was like 11 or 12 when Bernie Mac died, cause I think I was 11 in 2008. So the appropriate way that for me to watch Bernie Mac was Madagascar Escape to Africa, where he played Ben Stiller's dad, and it was an anime. It was one of Bernie Mac's first animation movie. I think it was either, I'm not sure, it was 08 or 2009. I think I came out before I started going to the fans. The fans is what you call, before it was called fanatics. I believe it was either G.I. Joe or Madagascar 2. I'm not sure what year I was watching at the movies. But anyway, that's irrelevant. For those that don't know what fans is, it's like a store where you could buy jerseys and all that and support your favorite team because if your city was local, like let's say you was from New York or Houston, like I grew up at, and it was local, and it was so hard to find a team that you didn't like the New York Knicks, you didn't like the Houston because they represented your hometown, and as a hometown Montana, you didn't want to buy Houston Rockets and New York Knicks gear. You didn't want to support your own team. You want to support teams that you actually love it away from the city. Like let's say you fell in love and you want to support it. The Los Angeles Lakers was your team, or the New Orleans Hornets was your team at that time when it was popular at that time, or the Orlando Magic. You probably don't want to root for your own hometown. You probably want to root for somebody in a different state. That's how the fans and the fanatics and lids were those stores where you could buy those gears. I don't believe at this time onlining was cool and all, but it wasn't as popular as it is today. Same with Amazon. Back in those times, man, you had to go if you wanted to buy a jersey and all that to support your favorite team. You had to go out and get it. Nowadays you don't have to. It's all internet stuff where you could just get it from Amazon or the NBA store. So back to the fans stuff, store stuff. I'm gonna just call it fanatics. I remember that I remember I didn't want to I was not even thinking about Detroit Pistons jersey. And at this time, Allen Iverson is still one of my favorite players to this day, behind Tracy McGrady. At this time, he was with the Denver Nuggets and all that. I remember like it was yesterday. Since they didn't have an Allen Iverson jersey, Denver Nuggets jersey, I remember begging my Uncle Clarence so freaking badly, man. Give me this Carmelo Anthony Denver Nuggets jersey since they didn't have an Allen Iverson Denver Nuggets jersey at this time. And I could see why, because the reason why I didn't get the Carmelo Anthony that my uncle didn't give me the reason why my uncle didn't give me the Carmelo Anthony Denver Nuggets jersey is because, and I believe the jersey was, I remember it being light blue, and it was cool as hell, dog. It was raw as hell. The reason why I didn't get it because it was expensive as hell. And my Uncle Clarence was like, nah. God rest his soul, but he was like, nah. So he pointed out. So I came across this Allen Iverson Detroit Pistons #1 jersey. And the reason why Allen Iverson is rocking #1, this is the time where they did a dumb move, bro. They freaking traded Allen Iverson for Chauncey Billups and gave Chauncey Billups his jersey #1. Because at this time, Rodney Stuckey was wearing Allen Iverson #3 jersey. And as soon as I got it, as soon as I came across the Detroit Pistons Allen Iverson jersey, I'm like, dang, I'm fucking with the color. Excuse my language, y'all. I don't curse no more, but I just had to let it out. It just wound up slipping. I was messing. I'm gonna correct myself. I was messing with the jersey. This jersey was raw as hell. Not only that, growing up as a kid, blue was always my favorite color, but since I grew up in the Blood neighborhood in Houston, I wound up trying my hardest to avoid the color red. I mean, the color blue. Sorry, y'all. I tried my best to avoid the color blue, so red wound up being my favorite color. And to this day, red has been my favorite color ever since and all that. But I never stopped having my likings and love for the color blue. So that's how I became a Detroit Pistons fan, is when Allen Iverson joined the Detroit Pistons fan, and the rest is history. I remember guys like on the team, Antonio McDyess. I remember guys like Will Bynum on the team. Guys like later on Gerard Smith. Freaking Rashard Wallace still was on the team. Tyshawn Prince was on the team. Rip Hamilton was on the team. And the whole nine. But once Allen Iverson joined the Detroit Pistons, and I got that jersey. Before I was a Detroit Pistons fan, since growing up in Houston, in the city of Houston, Texas, growing up on the north side of Trinity Gardens, not too far from Fifth Ward on Tolliver Street, I was a huge Houston Rockets fan. Matter of fact, I would be lying to the people, to y'all, if I say I was a Houston Rockets fan. Because I feel like at around this time in the 2000s as a kid, even late 2000s at that, I was really rocking with the players, with my favorite players, whoever was on the team. I never really had an NBA team like that, honestly. It was always Tracy McGrady, me following the players like Tracy McGrady, Yao Ming, and Kobe, and Allen Iverson. But yeah, as soon as I got that Allen Iverson jersey, it was just weird rocking the Allen Iverson #1 jersey because people used to think that I was rocking the Chauncey Billups jersey, but really I wasn't. I was rocking the Allen Iverson jersey in the 08 and 09. So yeah, and I just love the color blue still to this day. I feel like I was forced to rock red due to the neighborhood that was growing up in, a blood neighborhood and stuff like that. But it still didn't stop me from wearing a little bit of blue and all that. So anyways, man, how the way I feel about the Detroit Pistons system, how Monty Williams not doing a good job over there. I feel bad that they wasting Cade Cunningham and one of the twins, I believe his name is Asura Thompson. His other brother, I believe Amen Thompson, one of the Thompson twin brothers. One of them was with the Houston Rockets and the others with the Detroit Pistons. I must tell y'all the reason why I'm not a full Detroit Pistons fan as of right now is because of one thing. It hurts my soul. So it's hard. It disappoints me. The Detroit Pistons over and over and over and over and over again always disappoint me every freaking year. And man, they had a squad, man. This is where I feel like why Detroit Pistons fell off. They first downfall. Allen Iverson had a reputation of not wanting to come off the bench. He had a reputation of a bad attitude. Rasheed Wallace was getting lazier. Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince didn't want to step up and be mentor to the new generation of Detroit Pistons players that they should have mentored and should have passed the torch and should have, like the Rodney Stuckeys, the Josh Smiths, the Charlie V's and them. They should have passed the torch and should have taught them how to know what it feels like to win a championship or make it as far in the playoffs. But it turns out then you had never mind. I'm not gonna say Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon did play for the Detroit Pistons, but he's more so of a Chicago. He's a Chicago Bulls. He's more of a Chicago Bulls player as more than anything than the Detroit Pistons and all that. So man, it's hard. It's just hard rooting and supporting the Detroit Pistons as of today. That's why the only reason why I'm rooting for the Chicago Bulls is because it's hard to rock your actual team, the Detroit Pistons. Will I go back to being a Detroit Pistons fan? Maybe in the future. Would I ever buy some Detroit Pistons? Do I miss being a Detroit Pistons fan? Absolutely. But the fact that they got more losing streaks than winning streaks, it just hurt my freaking soul, bruh. It really does. Not only why the Detroit Pistons organization fell off with the whole Allen Iverson didn't want to come off the bench. He didn't feel motivated over his jersey number. He didn't want to come off the bench. he lacked motivation due to his jersey. But he still managed to gave you some points and average more good ass points off the bench. Not only that, he had a bad attitude. He was on his way getting old, out of his prime. And not only that, what the Pistons did is why give away Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson in the first place? Not trying to bash Allen Iverson, because Allen Iverson is my favorite player, and I enjoyed him and the Rodney Stuckeys and all them when they was with Detroit. But why y'all give up Chauncey Billups for this dude, for Allen Iverson? Ironically, man, Allen Iverson should have been with the Detroit Pistons in the first place. Originally, in the 90s, he was going to go with Detroit Pistons. He was going to get traded when he was with the Sixers. He was going to get traded to the Detroit Pistons with his beef with Coach Larry Brown at the time. Ironically, coincidentally, Larry Brown wound up having a coaching job to the Detroit Pistons and all that. I remember that. But sadly, Detroit Pistons got Allen Iverson when he was on his way of being old, being washed up. Not the same Allen Iverson he used to be. But he still was an all-star, and he was still managed to give you some numbers on the boards. Anyways, okay. But I got so much love to the Detroit Pistons organization. I still to this day keep up and follow the Detroit Pistons team and all that. But y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for giving Monty Williams that amount of money just so he could be such a terrible coach, not knowing what to do or how to utilize his players in the Detroit while coaching the Detroit Pistons. He don't know how to use Cade. It seemed like he don't know what to do with Cade Cunningham, know what to do with Jaden Ivey and all those boys. Monty, if this was the case, this goes to show you we owe Dwayne Casey a freaking apology. We should have never fired Dwayne Casey. If that was the case, we should have we should hire Dwayne Casey back to coach the Detroit Pistons. When Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin was under Dwayne Casey's coaching when he was coaching the Detroit Pistons. If you ask me, who would I have, Dwayne Casey or Monty Williams? I'm gonna tell y'all I would have Dwayne Casey. He wasn't that bad of a coach when he was coaching the Detroit Pistons. But hey, I feel so bad for Cade Cunningham having his talent being wasted in Detroit. I feel so bad about Jaden Ivey and all these boys like the Thompson that y'all picked up from the draft last year, and his brother with the Houston Rockets and all that. I feel bad for Detroit Pistons fans. Especially, man, this is why it is so hard to cross back over to the Detroit Pistons organization. It really does, man. Not only that, Detroit Pistons, everybody want to say that the Blazers is a curse. New York Knicks was a curse at the time. The Clippers are a curse. But in my opinion, Detroit Pistons is way worse of a curse organization than all the teams that I just named y'all. The Clippers, the Blazers, and all that. And the Knicks at one point. The Detroit Pistons been a cursed franchise ever since they got rid of Chauncey Billups and traded Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson. ever since they picked up a washed up Chris Webber, ever since they picked up Tracy McGrady, a washed up Tracy McGrady, injury prone Tracy McGrady at that, ever since y'all thought that Rodney Stuckey was going to be the man to carry the Detroit Pistons franchise once. Y'all thought that he was going to be the franchise player. Y'all thought Josh Smith, Ben Gordon, and them boys was going to be a franchise player. Y'all thought Charlie V was going to be a franchise player of the Detroit Pistons. But yet, we was wrong. They was only there for the moment. Rodney Stuckey was a good Detroit. It was so exciting watching Rodney Stuckey, Ben Gordon, and these boys play. But damn it, man, they only was there for the freaking moment. They had their moments. It's not like they were a superstardom caliber type of level. They was like on a level of a Derrick Rose, of a Derrick Rose, of a LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade status, superstardom status, Paul George when he's with the Pacers status. They wasn't them. They wasn't in that same category as them. But I was so excited to see guys like Greg Monroe, Will Bynum, Antonio McDyess, and all these Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, and all these dudes play. I just wish not only that, y'all let go Ben Wallace. To me, as soon as they traded Ben Wallace to the freaking Chicago Bulls, he was the defensive side of the Detroit Pistons. Him and Chauncey Billups was the heart and soul of those was the two pieces that kept Detroit Pistons from winning and kept on winning. For sake, y'all took the San Antonio Spurs after winning that championship against the Lakers in 2004. Y'all took the freaking San Antonio Spurs to game 7. Y'all took them all the way to game 7. But as soon as Detroit felt like, oh, we don't want Ben Wallace, it's time to let Ben Wallace go, that was their first downfall. That was their first L's. And then as soon as y'all got rid of freaking Chauncey Billups and Allen Iverson, and let him go and send him back to his hometown where he's from, the Denver Nuggets, that's how I knew ain't no way in hell that the Detroit Pistons are ever gonna be a championship contender. That was it. That was really it for Detroit. As soon as y'all got rid of Chauncey Billups, one of the heart and soul, the voice of that Detroit Pistons team squad, it was over with. Even though I still got love and amount of respect to Allen Iverson. But ain't no way Allen Iverson playing with Antonio McDyess, Ben Gordon, and them, ain't no way they was going to win a title. It was not going to win a title with them on that roster. And especially with Rasheed Wallace, and Tayshaun Prince and Rip Hamilton don't want to step up and be a mentor or don't want to be that leadership, or want to be that voice of the team to get these other like new Detroit Pistons players, to get them ready so they could carry the torch, because Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace was getting old and you can't rely on them forever and stuff for them to carry the Detroit Pistons, that Detroit Pistons organization. Not only that, Detroit Pistons has always been cursed ever since the Grant Hill days. Ever since the Grant Hill days when y'all got rid of him and y'all shipped him to Orlando. The biggest what ifs. What if, imagine Grant Hill was still playing the Detroit Pistons, didn't get injured or nothing like that. Imagine that. Grant Hill would have won in the 90s. Grant Hill was that beast, was that dog. But imagine hadn't he stayed healthy and not got hurt. Detroit would have won a championship with Grant Hill. I'm just keeping it real. Or better yet, imagine Scottie pimping with the Detroit Pistons. One of my favorite players from the Chicago Bulls, Scottie pimping. Boy, I tell y'all just don't know. Grant Hill and Scottie pimping as a duo with the Detroit Pistons. Whew. I could see a Grant Hill and a Scottie pimping teaming up together in Detroit. I would love to see that. But too bad. I'm glad that I just wish that I would have became a Detroit Pistons fan sooner in 2004 when they beat the Lakers and all that. When they had that squad, when they had Ben Wallace and them boys. But I became a Detroit Pistons so late, too late, when one of my favorite players, Allen Iverson, joined the team. But yeah, I just feel so bad for the organization Detroit, how they are really, 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 really so bad right now. I feel real bad. The only reason why I'm in Chicago, I'm rocking, like I said, again, the Chicago Bulls, I'm rocking with the Chicago Bulls, is because it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And it's just hard to be a Detroit Pistons when you so used to them winning. So used to them winning and all that. So used to them not losing this bad. Even when they had Derrick Rose, I was still supporting them. Even when they had Blake Griffin, I was still supporting them. I enjoyed when Derrick Rose was with the Pistons. I enjoyed more when he was with the Bulls. Matter of fact, I enjoyed D Rose more as a Pistons than I did when he was with the Chicago Bulls. Same way I enjoyed Blake Griffin more when he was with the Pistons, more when he was with the Clippers. But they wasn't the same players like they was when they was with their former team, with the Bulls and all that. So that's the main reason why I rock Chicago Bulls and I'm with the Chicago Bulls. I mean, the Chicago Bulls is like little brothers to the Pistons anyways. Because back in the 90s, into the 2000s, they always got players from the Chicago Bulls. Well, the Chicago Bulls back and forth, they always shared players from Dennis Rodman, John Sally, Ben Gordon. And I know I'm forgetting other players that used to play with both teams. Oh, Rip Hamilton. 5 players that I just named you, that I just freaking named y'all, man. They both played for the Bulls and the Pistons. That goes to show you that they really the same. They really the same teams. The difference is they red and blue. One is red, the other is blue. So but at the end of the day, I'm so glad, so blessed and thankful that in my heart, I still feel like I'm a Detroit Pistons fan at heart. I still would support the team. I still would support my second team at this time. Well, I would call it my first ever team that I ever hopped on in the late 2000s. Ever since I bought that Allen Iverson jersey. But I'm glad my uncle, God bless his soul, I'm glad that he pointed me out to that jersey over that expensive Denver Nuggets Carmelo Anthony jersey. Ironically, Carmelo Anthony was going to be a was also going to be a Detroit Pistons. He was going to be in the Detroit Pistons. He was originally, they was supposed to draft him, but they said, nah, we getting Darko, which also they made a mistake because Carmelo would have won a ring with Detroit hadn't they picked him over a freaking NBA bust of a player named Darko. Darko goes down as history as one of the worst players in the league, and he was such a NBA bust. I don't know what the hell Detroit was thinking when they drafted Darko over Carmelo. They should have been ashamed of their damn selves. But you can't change the past. It is what it is. I'm so glad and thankful that at least they had success in the 2000s. They went to the finals and won it in 2004. They took the Spurs to game 7 in 2005, and they had several Eastern Conference finals. As soon as they got old and they start trading everybody like Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups and all that. So shout out to Charlie V, Tonyo McDice, William Bynan, Chris Middleton at that time, later on. Rasheed Wallace, shout out to Ben Wallace, shout out to even before them, shout out to Joe Dumars, Mark Acurl, if I'm pronouncing his name right. He used to if y'all don't know who Mark is, he was Detroit. He used to play before he got with the Detroit Pistons. He spent his majority career first with the Dallas Mavericks. Then they traded him, or I believe he signed with the Detroit Pistons back in those times. That's when they became the bad boy. That's when they was the bad boy Pistons. Shout out to John Sally and him, Mark. Shout out to Dennis Rodman. Shout out to Isaiah Thomas, a.k.a. Zeke, even though he's bitter and salty because of the whole situation with him and Michael Jordan and all that. Shout out to Bill Laimbeer. And Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman is a Texas legend, just like I'm a Texas legend and all that. He's from Texas just as much as I'm from Texas, but he's from Oak Cliff in the Dallas area and all that. Shout out to Big Meech, Eminem, one of my favorite rappers from the D. R.I.P. to Dex Osama. He could have been one of the greatest in Detroit. Trick, Big Meech, all my homeboys that's no longer with me that I went to school with from the D. F my first ex-girlfriend. I'm not gonna speak on her and stuff like that. RIP to all my like guys like Devontae, RIP to Devontae, Kevin Garnett, and Dijon. RIP to y'all bros. I know y'all was such big Detroit Pistons and Detroit Lions fans. And I still got love for y'all coming up in Houston and us going to school together. I miss y'all to the depth. And I always have love. I always got so much love for the city of Detroit, and Detroit got so many good peoples in there. So much good people that come from Detroit. And it's the city of Motown. The Diane Rosses, the Temptations, Barry Gordons, the Jacksons 5 got they shine in Motown in Detroit. Lot of greats that put Detroit on the map. Aretha freaking Franklin. People like the Supremes, like Diane Ross. People that blew up when Motown was the mecca for black music. Not Atlanta, Detroit. But man, I could sit here all day speaking to y'all about Detroit, how I became so much of my love and my passion for the Detroit Pistons and that organization. But hopefully one day we go back to winning. Because I don't like it how they struggling with such an overrated coach like Monty Williams. In my opinion, y'all, Monty Williams is not that good of a GOAT. He's one of the most overrated black coaches there is to coach the game of basketball. And Detroit must have been on some stuff for paying this man so much amounts of money just for this team to suffer so many losing records than winning records. Y'all had no business paying this man that much money. Overpaid black coach of all time. We might as well bring back Dwayne Casey back. Sorry if I'm also mispronouncing his name. We need Dwayne Casey back. He didn't do that. He didn't do that bad of a job when he was coaching the Detroit Pistons. When he was coaching Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin when they was there at that time. I just feel so bad, man. But I'm going to give Monty Williams another chance. This is like his first. He just got to Detroit. I'm not giving up on Monty Williams. I feel like he could turn this around. But if he don't turn it around next season in 2024 and 2025 season, bruh, fire Monty Williams. Get him out of freaking Detroit. Get him out of Detroit. Get him out the 313. Periodically, get him out. Period. What made you think that he couldn't bring the Phoenix Suns and give them a title? What made you think what made you think he was going to give the Phoenix Suns a title? He wasn't. He wasn't going to give the Suns a title. If he didn't get the Suns a title, he most definitely, while coaching the Detroit Pistons, he most definitely not going to he's not gonna like give Detroit, gonna get the Detroit Pistons out of that slump. He's not gonna give you that championship. He's not gonna bring you that far to the finals, or at least in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's not gonna take you that far. I feel like the only reason why he went to the finals in 2021 against the Bucks, I feel like it was Devin Booker and Chris Paul as a team is the reason why they went to the finals in the first place. It wasn't Monty Williams. Monty Williams wasn't the reason why the Suns went to the finals in 2021. And plus, everybody was injured at that time. So, hadn't people wasn't injured, I don't even see the Suns making it to the finals anyways. I'll see a different team in the West facing the Milwaukee Bucks other than the Suns. The Suns got lucky, if you ask me. All I'm saying is Monty Williams, giving Monty Williams that much money was the worst decision on Detroit part. And they should have been ashamed of themselves. And Monty Williams is one of the most overrated black coaches of today. I'm a stand on it. My answer's not going to change. So shout out to Joe Dumars, and the rest of those board, the rest of all of the players that played for the city of Detroit. But man, I am so sorry, Detroit Pistons fan, that y'all have to deal with this BS of this losing. Keep on losing every year. Oh my Lord. I am so sorry, Detroit Pistons fan. I really, deep down in my heart, I really feel bad for y'all. And not only Allen Iverson's not only the reason why I became a Pistons fan, but also at this time, my favorite sitcom show that was Detroit-based, Detroit was a Detroit. It was set in Detroit at the time, was the show Morning. Morning, the TV show Morning, is also one of the reasons why, even though Martin Lawrence also was rocking some Chicago Bulls fan, because at this time Michael Jordan was that dude. IT and them boys wasn't popping like that. Of course, there was an episode where Martin Lawrence got mad when his Grant Hill jersey got shrunk and all that. But the show Morning was also the reason why I became a Pistons fan as well. I know Morning like came out in the 90s, but I was like 11 or 12 years old. I know I was late in all this, but every time Uncle Clarence used to always take me to the he always used to take me to the Best Buy before he took me to the movies and shop and all that as a kid every Saturdays, so I could get all the collections from season 1 to 5 of the shows of the DVD collection of Morning. And to see Martin Lawrence show love to the Detroit Pistons organization is such a good like way of him showing his support and love of how he is such even in real life. I believe he got an honorable ring from the Detroit Pistons. And not only that, me and Martin Lawrence share the same birthday. April 16, Aries people. So yeah, his birthday on April 16, my birthday on April 16, and we both share the same. We both Aries. And that's how much I have so much in common. And he's one of my favorite comedians of all times. I just don't like how he was wearing dresses as a comedian, but I get why he was wearing dresses just to make us laugh and all that. But as a man, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool for us black men to wear dresses in show business. But that's here and there. But Martin Lawrence, despite him rocking the dresses, portraying Mama Payne and Shanae playing Big Mama, he's one of the greatest comedians of all times. Him and Eddie Murphy when also Beverly Hills Cop also takes place in Detroit, but mainly in Beverly Hills. Alex Foley from Detroit, a Detroit police officer. That's also one of my favorite buddy cop movies, Beverly Hills Cop and stuff like that. Where he played Axel Foley and he's rocking a Detroit Lions leather jacket. But yeah. I'm not gonna like talk y'all ear out this much. I'm not gonna make this video too much longer. I'm about to wrap this video up. I just want to lay this out there that what was the reason why how I became a Detroit Pistons fan. But yeah, Allen Iverson, picking the Allen Iverson jersey, #1 jersey. Then after that, I followed nothing but the Detroit Pistons and supporting that team even when they was sucking. Not sucking when they was mediocre, when they had Allen Iverson, McDice, the Charlie V's coming in, Rodney Stuckey at that time, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Ben Gordon, even though Ben Gordon was more of a Chicago Bulls player than he was with the Pistons. I feel like he exploded more when he was with the Chicago Bulls, than he was with the Pistons. But he was still giving you numbers on the boards too, Ben Gordon. So yeah, hanging there, Detroit Pistons fan. Everything's gonna get better over time. Monty Williams better do right by the Detroit Pistons fan. He better figure something out to utilize Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Azor, one of the Thompson. I don't know who. I don't know what the twin brothers are, but he's one of the Thompson brothers that they picked from the draft like not too long ago. I think last year and all that, or the year before that. I think from the 2022 NBA draft or last year's draft. But it's gonna be all right, Detroit Pistons fan. I'm still gonna support y'all. I still got love for the Detroit Pistons organization. And it's never gonna stop. Detroit versus everybody. But man, I'm still stuck on the fact, man. Grant Hill and Scottie Pippen as a duo. And what if Grant Hill didn't get hurt? What if Grant Hill actually brought the Pistons gave Piston a championship? He would have been the greatest Detroit Pistons of even more of all times. He even stood Detroit Pistons. He still one of the Detroit Pistons greats. But he would even be even more of a greater Detroit Pistons great hadn't he didn't get hurt and they didn't give up on him and send him to Orlando with Tracy McGrady. Man, Scottie Pippen and Grant Hill as a duo instead of Scottie Pippen and Jordan. I could see them winning two or three rings together. Scotty and Grant Hill. Man. And he's also from Texas too. Grant Hill. And Joe Dumars also a Louisiana legend. He from Shreveport. I also claim Louisiana. I was born there. I grew up partially before like spending the majority of my life in Houston. So he's also Louisiana born just as much as I'm a Louisiana born, you know. Shout out to all the Detroit Pistons legends, man, and the city itself, man. The 313. Man, I just feel bad that they struggling. Man. It just makes me want to cry, man. But them picking out washed up players like Chris Webber and them, Tracy McGrady. I remember how sad watching Chris Webber on the Pistons, seeing Tracy McGrady, who used to be my favorite player on the Houston Rockets, seeing them suffer. I remember Tracy McGrady had such a terrible. I was still supporting and rooting for the Pistons once they got Tracy McGrady. I remember from the Knicks. I remember he had such a brutally injury with the Pistons. After that, Tracy McGrady wasn't the same. Tracy McGrady last prime years is when the Houston Rockets decided to let him go, and when they switched his jersey to number 3 because Trevor Ariza had his jersey number. And then they traded him for Gerald Jefferson for the Knicks. They traded his ass to the Knicks for Gerald Jefferson. Gerald Jeffries and all that. But man, that's here on there. I'm not even mad. One love. Peace. And I see y'all next time. I might do some more Detroit Pistons talks. I just want to share y'all on how my experience of how I became a Detroit Pistons fan. And deuces, one love.